This is She Creates Business, a podcast for wedding pros. Your host, Kinsey Roberts, interviews incredible women in the wedding industry who are making their mark and creating success on their terms. Join the conversation.
Hello there. Welcome to episode 144 of She Creates Business, a podcast for wedding pros. This is your host, Kinsey Roberts. Thank you so much for joining me today and all days. I really, really appreciate you guys being here. You make this a podcast. I know I say it all the time, but it's hard for me to communicate to you how much I appreciate you listening to this show. Without you, it's nothing, and I enjoy bringing it to you every week, and I'm just so thankful for your support and your love, and for you sharing the show on Instagram, and sharing how much you love each episode, and supporting the guests I have on the show. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. My guest today is Kylie Carlson from the Wedding Academy, and today we're going to be chatting about ways you can use video marketing in your business, and specifically how to use storytelling in video marketing to impact your business, to impact your revenue, to impact your clients. Kylie goes into very practical, tactical, and I have to say passionate steps for using video. She's been using video for years. She loves it. And this is something I really appreciate about my guests. They are very passionate about what they teach, and Kylie is no exception. She loves video, and it's clear. I walked away myself with quite a few steps I need to take to incorporate more video into my businesses, not just Vista View Events, my wedding venue, but also She Creates Business. So I really appreciated Kylie for this and for many more things. She's been in the industry for years and years and years, and I feel really passionate about learning from people like Kylie because they've seen it all. You know, they've seen marketing trends come and go. They've seen wedding trends come and go. They've seen business owners come and go. And so learning from people who have such longevity in the industry is something that I have really started turning my mind's eye towards this year, especially as we add new things to the venue. I am not trying to recreate the wheel at all. I don't have time for that. I'm just trying to look to experts who I respect and trust, and I take their information and then I implement it in my business. I'll talk about that. I'll talk about that in a future episode and some of the services we're adding to the venue and what I'm doing to make that a reality for us. But before I get there, I want to tell you that today, August 29th, 2019, as I record this, Kylie's new course, the Wedding CEO School, has opened. And the Wedding CEO School is for any wedding professional who wants to learn strategies to bring more clients to their business, to bring more revenue to their business, and to really stand out from the crowd. And I am going to link Wedding CEO School in the show notes. If you need help finding the show notes, go ahead and Google how to find the show notes in XYZ podcast player. Insert the name of the podcast player you are using. If you need more help, DM me on Instagram. I am at She Creates Business. But really get the strategies you need to bring more clients to your business. Master the skills that are going to be required, you guys. It's 2019. More people are joining our industry. Master those skills that are going to be required to stand out from the crowd and grow that profitable and sustainable business. And that is Wedding CEO School. Like I said, Kylie's been in the industry for a long time. She's seen a lot of things, and she really knows how to point you in the right direction. She was a planner and a designer herself for 10 years before she started the Wedding Academy, which is her current business. And she started the Wedding Academy 12 years ago. So it's been a while, and you can tell because she is brilliant and is spot on. So let me tell you a little bit about Kylie before we get to the interview so you know what we're doing here and kind of who she is. She was born and raised in Essex and spent the first 15 years of her life playing the violin and the piano. And at first, she didn't have the makings of a wedding CEO. However, she really believes that music gave her more life lessons than school ever did. It really taught her discipline, focus, commitment, and the ability to apply herself and work really hard. It really brought out her competitive streak and her determination to never give up. She followed her heart and studied at the Royal College of Music in London. And when it came time to graduate and think about the next step of her life, for some reason, music actually wasn't at the top of the list. There was a hunger inside her to try something new and see what else was out there. So she turned that kind of year into a lifetime, and she never went back to music. What she did do, though, was discover a passion for weddings and business. And that's probably something to do with the fact that growing up as a little girl, she used to play dress up and have weddings and parties for all of her dolls. So by noon, she would have had 3 weddings. So she was a little wedding CEO when she was a little girl. She just didn't know it. By the age of 22, she was running her first company, or, it was running her. It wasn't the easiest road, and there weren't any courses, ebooks, or YouTube videos back then. Amen to that. She really had to claw her way through the industry. We just have so many resources at our disposal. Social media didn't exist. You didn't just Google stuff. Advertising was only for corporate giants unless the yellow pages counted, but she loved every second of it and really ignited a fire in her. Even though it wasn't all plain sailing, she made a ton of mistakes, she nearly bankrupted herself, and she learned very early to never give up, never ignore her gut instinct. And would she change any of it? Of course she wouldn't, because look where she is now. Today she lives in rural France with her husband Richard, her border collie Lottie, running the Wedding Academy and doing what she loves. It's been quite a journey, and I'm here for it. I am very much looking forward to introducing you to Kylie Carlson. So without further ado, let's go to the show and talk about how we can use storytelling in video marketing to transform our wedding business. Kylie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. It's an honor and a pleasure to have you. As we were chatting offline, I'm very, very excited to talk about storytelling with video marketing. I was mentioning to you, Kylie, that I haven't focused on this exact topic yet in a whole episode. We've definitely touched on video marketing here and there, but we haven't really dug deep, and so I'm very much looking forward to doing this with you. But first, before we do that, I have given everyone your professional bio there at the top of the show, but I would love for you, in your own words, to introduce yourself, tell us what you're doing in the industry and kind of what you're doing now.
Oh, sure, no problem. Okay, so I kind of come into the industry in 2 different ways. I started life as a wedding planner and designer, more designer than planner. And I had my own company in London for about 10 years called Organised Chaos. We organised the chaos of your party. And I did that, for about 10 years. And I loved it because it grew from nothing into a bit of a beast. And I was lucky because I got to work in some phenomenal venues in London. I also got to travel and do events worldwide as well. So it gave me a really good background. And then about 10 years after doing that, something happened. I got married, but I didn't just get married, I got married to an Aussie. And we kind of got to that point where he wanted to go home. There was better things for him at home, which meant I had to give up my company. And it was like cutting off my right arm. So I did. I moved to Australia, lock, stock and barrel, and took my daughter with me and my husband, obviously. Mm-hmm. And I went to work on Hayman Island, which is a 5-star tropical island in North Queensland. And it kind of, for me, it kind of sort of filled a gap because I'd always run my own business doing events in lots of different venues. Working for a venue just kind of, it was the last piece of the puzzle. But because it's an island, you live it, you breathe it, you eat it, you sleep it, you don't get away from it, you can get burnt out very quickly, which almost happened to me. So I did a year and then came off, and I decided that I was going to take a year out. Yeah, well, that lasted about 3 weeks, and I got very, very bored very, very quickly. And I was kind of thinking, how do I stay in the industry without being in the industry? It's all I'd ever known. And it was kind of at that point that the Wedding Academy was born. And 12 years down the line, we are operating globally. We've had numerous different courses that we've offered, and we've literally just rebranded to the Wedding Academy. We've now rebranded to just doing one course and one course only, and really focusing on helping people launch wedding businesses. And then looking at the other side of what we do, which is to help people in business grow their business by getting more clients. So in a nutshell, 12 years down the line, that's where I am now. But yeah, I started off as a planner and a designer.
So was it hard? I'm wondering, did you sell your planning designing business, or did you just close up shop when you moved to Australia?
No, it's actually still going, which I love. I had a business partner. About 4 years into the business, it started to get really busy, and I realized I couldn't do it all on my own anymore. And I needed somebody to fill in the gaps that I wasn't as good at. So I took a business partner on, and I ended up selling my part of the business to him, and he's still running it. So it's good.
Wow, that's fantastic. There's such longevity there. It obviously had a really phenomenal foundation from you all those years ago.
Yeah, I made a ton of mistakes like we all do, but
yeah,
ultimately, it was my passion. So I'm glad it's still going. It gives me a lot of satisfaction.
I bet. Well, and you're still in the industry. The Wedding Academy is now 12 years old. How does that feel? How does it feel to have something that was so grounded in your passion when you started your planning designing company, but now you're still in this industry just looking at it from a different lens? Did you kind of foresee that for yourself, like the educational role?
Oh, God, no. Not at all. It's funny because you have this idea in your head about what you're going to do and where you're going to go to. And I was so naive 12 years ago when I started the academy, because I sat there and I thought, I know how to do this. I've been doing it for 10 years. I can write a course, no problem. And I found that actually it wasn't as easy as all that. And I ended up, I'd started writing the course and I just wasn't getting anywhere. And I don't know about you, but I work better under pressure. So I put myself under pressure by selling the course before I'd finished it. Always a smart way to go.
Nice.
And as fast as I was finishing one unit, they were finishing the one prior. So it really motivated me to get going, but it's certainly not something I would have ever imagined doing. But now I can't imagine doing anything else because I love it. I love educating people, helping people, seeing the transformation, going on the journey with them. It's so rewarding.
And so now, and you mentioned this as you were kind of telling us about your history in the industry, you, in addition to teaching people how to become planners and things of that nature, you teach them how to grow their business, how to grow their revenue, how to gain more clients. And today specifically, we're talking about storytelling and video marketing, the strategy. How did that come to be in your own business? You were telling me offline that it's changed the trajectory of your business. Can you share your personal journey with that a little bit, and then we'll get into how others can use it?
Oh, absolutely. It was by accident. And I was living in the States at the time. Slight background. My daughter is a figure skater and she was competing internationally. And we had the opportunity to go and live in Southern California in Lake Arrowhead and for my daughter to compete, to train at ice castles. So anyway, I was there and we spent about 3 years in the States. And I used to go to what was then Idea Factory, which is now really being taken over by Catersource. But it was a massive, big industry conference that happened in Las Vegas every single year, and it competed with the special event show. And I had been speaking there for a couple of years. And this one particular time I went, which was about 7 years ago now, I had the opportunity to interview all of the speakers, or the good speakers anyway, at Idea Factory. And I'd never done anything like that before, but it wasn't just interviewing them, it was interviewing them on camera. And I was thrown in at the deep end because the person that was going to do it had let them down, and they just made me do it. I had no time to prep, not really anyway. And it was just one of those things that I fell into, but because I can think on my feet quite quickly, I didn't mind doing it. And I actually found I really enjoyed being in front of the camera. And yeah, I was nervous, but the people who I was talking to were so good at what they did that it made my life easy. I just had to listen to what they were saying and think of the next question based on the answer that they gave me. So that's how I kind of fell into it. But it was a bit of a rude awakening because the person who was getting me to do this said, right, well, we now know that you shouldn't sit with your left features to the camera because it makes your nose look big, and you should never wear anything sleeveless because it makes your arms look fat. Honestly, they just ripped into me. And it was at that moment I went, all right, I can either throw my dummy out, pack my little bag and go home and cry my eyes out, or I can take this on board and I can see how I can work this further and really take video marketing to the next level. And obviously it was the latter, but it was quite an entry into doing video marketing. And I look back at those videos now and cringe. But those interviews made my YouTube channel take off. So I realized there was something in it.
There's a couple of things that you said that are, after telling us your story, I'm not surprised that you were just thrown into the deep end, but you came out swinging because you said you work really well under pressure. Like, I can't imagine more pressure than, hey, our video person let us down. Can you just step in?
It was pressure, all right.
Yeah, I love that. Well, and that's really funny that, I guess, what made them come to you? Just because they knew you and had a relationship with you? Or why do you think they came to you to say, hey, we need help here?
Well, they'd seen me on stage, and they'd seen me speak on stage, and they'd seen me interview people as part of a panel on stage as well. So I guess I was kind of a natural choice, but I'd never done it on camera. It's very, very different being behind a camera to being on stage. And now I prefer being on camera to being on stage, but I think that's where that came from.
Okay. And so you did that. Now video marketing is an integral part of your business. So how are you using it in your business where you've seen success?
Okay. So I guess what you have to sort of take it back to is why video marketing has now become so popular. So if you think about it, everybody always says, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, a video is worth 1,000,000. Because the one thing that you can do with video marketing, and I realized this very, very quickly, is that it helps you to weed out those people that aren't your ideal client. So what I mean by that is people are either going to love you or they're going to hate you. There's going to be no in between. When they've seen you on camera, they're either going to get that emotional connection with you, like you, want to gobble up everything that you do, or they're going to be completely, nah, she's not my type of girl. I don't want to deal with her. Which is perfectly fine because it means that you don't waste as much time trying to sell to those people that were never going to be your clients in the first place. If they don't like you on video, then they're not going to like you in person because generally speaking, that's who you are. You're showcasing your personality. So I found that video has been a really, really good way for me to find my ideal client really quickly and for them to resonate with me, get to know me a lot quicker than if I'm just emailing them or getting them to read a blog post or getting them to listen to my podcast. Seeing me is very, very different. And then, of course, there's also the whole live video aspect as well that we've now got with Instagram stories and Facebook Lives, etc. But that's a bit of a different topic.
Okay. So absolutely. You just said, I love this quote. You just said that, we all say a picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, video is worth 1,000,000. And it will help you weed out those clients that are not your ideal client, someone who doesn't resonate with you, which is great for them and for you. It's a win-win. If they're not your ideal client, they can self-select for that. And just by producing this valuable content, it saves you and them a lot of back and forth and even maybe a booking that is stressful. It saves you all of those steps by producing video. And that's just one benefit is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I mean, that is just one benefit.
Yeah.
The other part of it is, I mean, you've got to think about all of the reality TV shows out there. For example, probably the biggest one I can think of right now is, Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Why do we watch that stuff? We watch it because we want to know the backstory. We want to know what people do, even though we know that it is completely curated and what really goes on behind the scenes is probably totally different. But the point is it gives us what we believe to be an insight into people's worlds. We feel like we're getting a behind the scenes look of what these people do. And that's what video marketing allows you to do. It allows you to become real. It allows people to have that emotional connection with you. It allows people to be taken behind the scenes and feel as though they're getting to know you. And it kind of just speeds up the entire process. And I think that's one of the biggest things that video has done, not to mention the fact that social media loves live video and any video of any description. But the other thing you have to think about is what do we do when we're stuck on something? It doesn't matter what it is. We hop onto YouTube and we find a video that will show us how to do it. Right. It's really, really powerful. We'll all sit and watch a video even when we're not supposed to be. When we've got the sound turned down, when we're at work and we shouldn't be looking at videos, we're still consuming video content. We're just watching the person with subtitles. So to be present on video gives you so many ways to be a part of somebody's life and give them that emotional connection with you. It's easy to consume. It allows them to get to know you so much quicker. And the other thing is you tend to find now, I know certainly in the wedding industry, our clients are a lot more educated now than they ever were before. They can cut through the crap a lot quicker, and they can see whether or not you're authentic. And by using video, it allows them to get to that point a lot quicker. Like I say, they feel like they know you. They feel like they can have that emotional connection with you. And that is such an important part of it. And because not everybody has jumped on the bandwagon, especially not in the wedding industry, it really does give you a leg up in front of everybody else. And as I say, of course, there's the first point where it weeds out those that were never your clients in the first place.
This is so good. You're right. Even though I feel as if we've been kind of like sidestepping around it and tiptoeing around video for the last few years. I feel as if in our industry, not a lot of people have really harnessed its power like you have. So let's jump into some tactical steps that we can take to really harness the power of video in our wedding business. I feel like those step-by-step information can help people conceptualize how it could work in their business if they haven't yet jumped into video. So how does that sound?
Okay, no problem. Do you want me to give you a couple of pointers? I mean, one of the first things I can think of is your website.
Okay.
Obviously, everybody has a beautiful website. Everybody in the industry tries to make sure that their website is pretty much their shop front. But most people will just use images. But imagine how much more powerful it is when you've got a video right on that above the fold area when you land on someone's website. And instead of it just being a big picture or a big call to action, a video in there that is showcasing the emotion of a wedding and you doing what you're doing with some, powerful music in the background is so much more of an emotional connection than an image of somebody else getting married. It allows people to really visualize what it is that you do, what you can do for them. And apart from anything else, it will shoot you up in the rankings as far as Google is concerned, because they rank video in that first third of your website a lot higher than they do anything else. So that would be one of the first things, having a video that allows you to not even necessarily be in the video. So if you're shy and you don't want to be in the video, there is absolutely no reason why you have to be, but it can be your voiceover talking about what it is that you do, showcasing either a style shoot or a wedding that you have been a part of. It just gives so much more of a story than you telling it physically. It allows people to use their imagination a little bit more. So that's one of the other things I see as being so powerful with video. It allows people to use their imagination and be taken on this journey and be a part of a story. And at the end of the day, that's what movies are. They're stories. They have a beginning, they have a middle, and they have an end. And we either resonate with them or we don't, but they're more powerful than anything else. It's much more powerful than reading some words and looking at a picture, when you can actually feel like you're part of something and being taken on this journey and this story. Different things start to happen to what they would if somebody was just reading something. There's a power behind it. And at the end of the day, there's a reason why our mum and dad told us stories when we were kids. We take it in much more. When it's told to us in story format, we don't care. Nobody really cares what it is that you do. They care about what you do makes them feel. So being able to tell a story through video has this amazing power. It's just like being a kid again. When we were told the fairy tales, we would be drawn in by them. We'd listen to them, be excited by them. And that's why as children, we loved stories, because we could retain information better when it was told to us as a story. And we're really no different as adults. It's the same thing. I've gone off on a bit of a tangent there. Sorry.
No, not at all. And music is so emotional. Music can connect you so emotionally. So with video, even if you have voiceover with really powerful music, I find myself I mean, I've teared up at like Olympic commercials because the music is so beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, I hear you. I'm a music girl. Music gets me every time. If you have the right music behind a video, and at the end of the day, weddings are an emotional event anyway. So you've got the right imagery and story being told with the right music behind it. It's a no-brainer. You know, it's got that. And I keep saying this, but it is all about the emotional connection now. That is what makes you stand out head and shoulders above everybody else. How you can emotionally connect with your ideal client, whoever she might or he might be.
All right, so putting a video above the fold, something that's going to connect us emotionally with our potential clients. What is the next thing that might help us get into video?
Well, one of the things I hear more than anything else from people who are trying to, take their business to the next level is, how do I get more clients? How do I stand out from the crowd? Well, how you stand out from the crowd is doing things a little bit differently to everybody else. So, for example, FAQs, frequently asked questions. We all know the questions that we get asked time and time again. So rather than writing those out, why not do a short 60-second video for your Instagram feed? It stands out so much more. It's so much more personal, and you can get so much more across in 60 seconds than you can in a couple of sentences when you're talking about your FAQs. So being creative with the way that you use video is going to help you to stand out. It's going to help you to be different. And people can't help but watch video. It's more enticing than it is to read a massive length of text. We're all skim readers most of the time. We're looking for the pertinent information that is the whole reason we landed on a blog post, for example. And if we can't see it, we lose our attention and our focus and we click off of it. But with video, it's so much quicker and easier to draw somebody in. All it takes really is making sure that you've got a good hook and a good story as part of it, because no matter what you're doing, whether it's an FAQ, whether it is a promo video, whether it's you teaching somebody, the quicker you can hook them in, the better, but you always want to have a story. Everything you do has to have a beginning and a middle and an end, so there always has to be a purpose to it. But yeah, with things like FAQs, it's a great way to be able to stand out from everybody else. Hit the pain points right up front. If somebody is worried about why they should hire a wedding planner, so for example, it might be that their pain point is they think a wedding planner is going to take over their wedding and it's not going to be their wedding anymore. Well, if you know that is one of the limiting beliefs of your ideal client, hit that up front with a video. Get straight in there, hit them with what it is that they're worried about and show them how that is not the case. With video, it's so much easier and quicker to be able to dispel those fears and those limiting beliefs of your ideal client.
And I find that, and for me specifically, and I'm sure, and you feel this way, I'm sure, because you do a lot of video, I do a lot of podcasting, I find it's actually a lot easier for me to articulate on video, or even on voice, on video. I'm so much more poignant and articulate when I'm doing that as opposed to writing, because I'm the worst copywriter.
I think that's exactly right, because a lot of people, when they sit down to write a blog post, they just stare at this blank screen, and it's the pressure of, oh my God, I've got to write something that is, grammatically correct and that sounds good and that doesn't look like, a piece out of War and Peace. It's difficult for people to do that. And if you're talking about something which is always here, never, ever, ever go onto video and talk about a subject that you're not 100% on, because that never works. But if it's a subject that you should be able to wax lyrical. You should be able to talk about it really naturally, and it should be a conversation starter. So it is so much easier than actually having to sit down and write out a lengthy blog post or an email. I mean, whenever I'm really trying to get a point across really quickly and I don't have that much time, I will literally pick up my laptop, record a 3-minute video, upload it to Vimeo, and then put the link into my email and send it out to people. And I get far more opens when people know it's a video from me, because they want to hear what I've got to say. They want to know what it is I'm going to be talking about, because I have a personality. I can showcase that. People can sort of more or less look me in the eye or feel like they're looking me in the eye. And there's a power behind that you can't have with the written word. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a copywriter as well. I actually love writing copy. I kind of have to, as you know, I produce course material. I have to like writing, which I do, but it's a very different process to sitting down and recording a video. And I'm not one for scripts. I used to be. I used to script myself all the time, and all my older videos that I did, I learned very quickly how to read off of an auto cue. I was known as the girl that could do all of her videos more or less in one take until I got tired. But they just, and I guess this is a big tip for anybody coming into video, they started to sound like I was a newsreader. I could have been on BBC News, you know, reading the 6 o'clock news. That's what it started to sound like, and that's not engaging. People want you to showcase your personality. They want you to be real. And on video, you don't have to be as polished anymore. Since, you know, Facebook launched live videos and YouTube lets you do live streaming and Instagram stories lets you go live, people don't expect you to be as polished and perfect as you used to have to be. In fact, they almost don't want you to be. They want you to be yourself. And that ultimately makes it easier, because it doesn't matter if you screw up and you make a mistake, or, you know, you forget what you were saying. I do it all the time. I'm always going off at a tangent and dropping in personal things about how, do you know, I went for a walk with my dog yesterday and I saw exactly what I was just talking to you guys about. But it makes you real. Yes. You know, yes. People can relate to that. And I'll tell you now, the amount of times I do have a dog, and we do live in rural France, and I go out for my dog walk most mornings when it's not raining. I'm a fair weather girl. And the amount of times I get inspired when I'm out walking and I jump on live, and I'll do a 10, 15-minute live, and I'm still shouting my dog in the middle of it. Or it'll be a case of saying, just hold on 2 minutes, just need to shout my dog, and I'll yell for her to come back, and then I'll carry on with what I'm saying. And do you know what? Those videos get more engagement than any of my planned videos that I do stand at my desk. So the power behind video is it gives you that chance to be real, to be raw, to be present with them in that moment, to show them behind the scenes, to let them into your life. Because at the end of the day, we all buy into the brands that we feel like we can be a part of. And that's the big key here. And I often refer to something like Tiffany. Mm-hmm. I love Tiffany. Yeah. Like, that is my favorite brand. Why do I love it? I love it because of the way it makes me feel. If I strut down the street swinging a Tiffany bag, I feel like I am part of Breakfast at Tiffany's and Audrey Hepburn's life. That's how it makes me feel. But that's the power of a brand that really resonates with its audience and makes you feel in a certain way. And what video does is it allows the smaller brands like us in the wedding industry, because a lot of us are solopreneurs, it allows us to compete with the big boys in the way we can emotionally connect with people. We can take them behind the scenes. We can, you know, if you're a floral designer, you can show them as you're, you know, creating this amazing centerpiece. You can show them what it's like to take a flower delivery and prep the flowers ready for the next day's creations. You know, there's all these different things that you can do that make it real, that show people what you do without them telling you, without you telling them what you do. There you go. I've gone off at a tangent again. No, I did tell you were going to have to rein me in.
You did. You told me that. But no, I have no intention of reining you in, because this is all fantastic information. I wanted to ask you, because a couple of times as we're chatting here, you have mentioned both, you know, like video on your FAQs, also Instagram Live, also Facebook Live. So it sounds like you are definitely a proponent of creating video in a multitude of places. So not just stagnant video on YouTube or a static video on YouTube, not just embedded in your website, but also using these live video platforms. Is that kind of what you encourage your students and clients to do, is take advantage of multiple video platforms? And if so, why do you do that?
I do, but only if it's where your clients are. Okay. So you've got to know which platforms your clients are on. And I know that I get a lot of people finding me on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. I don't do Twitter. I don't do Snapchat. I do Pinterest, but I don't do video on Pinterest. So I stick to the platforms on which I know that my ideal client is likely to find me, because I know that's where they're hanging out. So I think certainly for the wedding industry, we all know Instagram is huge. And there's a difference between what you're going to do in your feed versus what you're going to do on an Instagram live story. They're totally different. And then, of course, you've got Instagram TV as well, which is a whole other ball game, which still not quite sure whether that's taken off or not. But it does all come down to knowing your ideal client. They have to be on those platforms. If your ideal client isn't on YouTube, don't create a YouTube channel, because it takes a lot of work. It is much easier to do live videos because you can do them on the fly. You know, when you're out walking your dog, or you're taking a flower delivery, or you're on site creating an event, whatever it is that you're doing. You know, it's a lot easier to do it that way than it is to produce YouTube videos. So if your audience isn't on YouTube, don't be on YouTube. It's this, you know, it's the same old story. Even with video, there is no point in doing it if your audience aren't there. But based on the fact that Facebook is a massive platform, and at the end of the day, it owns Instagram, I always encourage all of my students to be doing Facebook ads. Now, it's far more powerful to do Facebook ads with video than it is with just a static image. And we've tested this. Whenever I do a Facebook advert video, I get way more engagement than I do with anything else that I do. So again, it's another angle to be looking at. And, you know, Facebook is a wonderful platform because it allows you to dig really, really deep into the analytics. You can really go deep on who you're targeting, et cetera, et cetera. So it's just another way of using video, but be smart with your time. You know, creating video, you've got to have something to say. You don't want to create video for creating video's sake. So know your audience. Know what it is that they're interested in. Now, I know that my audience connect with me around different things. They know I love a glass of bubbles. I live in the French countryside. I ride my vintage blue bike into town and get a baguette and put it in my wicker basket. They also know that I love sunflowers and I walk my dog daily. They know those things about me. So there's videos I can create where they will literally connect with me because of those things. So I talk about those things within a certain setting. However, they also know that every single Wednesday I host a Q&A where you can come and talk to me about anything, ask me any questions that are to do with business, marketing, sales, social media, etc. And it's about a half an hour Q&A that happens every Wednesday. So there's also consistency around this. If you're going to do something like video, especially live video, you've got to be consistent. There has to be a plan behind it, like there would be with anything else. It's like blogging. It's like podcasting, like you do. You have consistency in what you do. You don't do a podcast and do 6 of them and release them all in 1 week and then do nothing for 3 months. You release consistently. You have a plan, you have a strategy, you know what it is that you're doing. And live video, pre-recorded video, any of those things are exactly the same. There has to be a strategy and there has to be a plan behind what you're doing. Because yes, as powerful as video is, if you don't know why you're doing it or what your plan is behind it, there's no point in doing it. So for me, I do video for 2 reasons. I do my fun videos that allow people to get to know Kylie, who she is, why they would want to work with her, you know, what she loves, etc., so they can connect with me on a more personal level. Then I'm very strategic about the types of videos that I do, both live and pre-recorded, but with my live videos, I do them twice a week. One is Friday Words of Wisdom, where it just basically gives me the excuse to talk about whatever I want to on a Friday. And one is Q&A Wednesday, but there is a strategy behind that. I know that the reason I'm doing that is it allows me to showcase myself as an expert to my audience. I have consistency because I do it every single week, so they know what to expect. So that when I do start to build up towards launching something, I've already given that much value that it's kind of like a no-brainer for people when I go, okay, I'm actually going to be selling to you for this next week, but I've been giving you value for the last 3 months. Mm-hmm. So it's like anything. You cannot do any form of marketing without having a plan behind it, and video is the same. Why are you doing the video? What do you want to get out of it? What's the purpose behind it? You know, all of those questions have to be brought in. Just filming on the fly and posting on the fly is fine for the odd ad hoc video like I do when I'm out on my dog walks, but there needs to be more purpose behind it. There needs to be a plan.
So I have a couple of questions to unpack all of that. The first is, when you are just getting started, is there one platform over another that you would recommend to beginners so that they can really start to kind of test the waters, especially if they're just getting started in business and might be still developing their ideal client?
Definitely. The great thing about Instagram or the Instagram feed is A, the videos are only up to 60 seconds in length, and B, they're not live. So it means you can pre-record them and upload them. And you can always take them down again as well if you realize that you really can't stand them or they're not resonating for whatever reason. So I always think that with video, it's good to test on a platform where you can pre-record it so you can practice until you feel more comfortable in front of the camera. You don't have as many nerves. You can do as many takes as you want to. And of course, on your Instagram feed or even on your Facebook page, either of those, you can upload pre-recorded videos and you can test the waters with them. You can see what's really resonating and what's not. Mm-hmm. And then you can change the content accordingly. At the end of the day, as long as your video, isn't, I don't really know what to think of really, but as long as it's not something that's completely irrelevant to your business, then mm-hmm. there's no such thing as a bad video really. You can keep them up there. It's about finding out what engages your audience and what your ideal clients are going to resonate with. And that's just about testing the waters. And sometimes the interesting thing is it's not what you think it's going to be. So there'll be videos I do that just don't hit the mark at all. And then other things I'll talk about and think, this could go one way or the other, and it goes the way I'm not expecting, and it's really popular. So it is down to really testing your marketplace, but certainly when you're first starting out, if the thought of live video sends you into cold sweats, then do the pre-recorded stuff that is only 60 seconds. You'll be surprised how quickly 60 seconds goes as well. You can pre-record, you can practice. One of my top tips is practice in front of the mirror, because you can see yourself and then you know when you're pulling those really stupid faces that we all do. Yeah. So I used to do that on a regular basis and practice it. Say it out loud. No, it's not the same when you say it in your head. When you say something out loud, it sounds totally different to when you're running through it in your head. So whenever I do this whenever I'm speaking on stage, whenever I'm about to do any live training, I always rehearse. I rehearse everything I do. Okay, I haven't rehearsed this because this is you and I having a conversation. Right. But if I'm doing any type of training or anything where I really want to get a point across, I always practice what I do. So practice it out loud and practice it in front of the mirror. You'll be amazed how much that builds your confidence, because it'll never come out the same way twice. It never does. But you know what it is that you're going to be talking about. You've got those key points across. You know that you don't look that stupid because you've seen what you look like in the mirror. And all of those things help to build your confidence. And then the other thing you can do is, and I've done this too, is you can create a group and only have one person as the member of that group. So I created a group, added my husband as a member of the group, and I used to test my lives on there and then play them back and see what they look like, to see whether I rambled, whether or not the lighting was good, whether or not the sound was good, whether my content was a load of crap or not. And as painful as it is watching yourself back, at the end of the day, it's not gone out to anybody other than myself and my husband, and he never watches anything I do anyway. He just yawns. So it's a great way to really practice doing lives by creating yourself a group and just you have to have one person as a member. So choose somebody who you know is never going to watch it, and you can practice going live as many times as you want to without the whole world seeing. So that can be really helpful as well.
That is so smart. I would never have thought of that. So create a secret group on Facebook, practice going live, add one person, like maybe your husband or your mom, someone who's not going to watch. Wow, that's brilliant. I love that. I had a quick question. I have two questions, actually. One is super tactical. It's actually going back to something you said a little earlier. But the one thing I want to ask before that is, you mentioned, of course, having a strategy and developing a marketing strategy behind why you are creating videos so that it's valuable for your audience and for yourself. I wonder, and I know that there's a lot of variable here and it really depends on the business, but is there just a general timeline that you would just ask people to commit to so that they can really determine whether or not their video strategy has been working for them? Because I don't want someone to leave this episode and try 3 videos and think, oh, that didn't work for me. What's a kind of a decent general timeline that they could try to commit to see how video has impacted them?
That's a really good question. It's, we're very, very quick to say something doesn't work. As you said, you do a video 3 times and you're like, oh, well, that didn't work.
Right.
It's all about consistency. It's the same as anything else. It takes time. It's like being on Instagram, Facebook, any of those, or building your email list, any of those things. It doesn't happen overnight. And people have to get used to hearing from you. Just because you in your head have said, right, I'm going to start doing videos today, and then 3 weeks down the line, nothing has really happened. Well, you haven't really given it a chance. You really need to be planning out an absolute minimum of 3 months. But really, for something to work, it's going to be at least 6 months. It takes time for people to get used to what you do, get to know what you do, get to want to follow you because of the consistency. So you have to give it, like I say, a minimum of 3 months. But really, if it was me, I never, ever, ever jump off of something until I've given it at least 6 months to really let it settle and see whether or not it's working. Because as I say, in this day and age, it is all about consistency. People want to know that you're going to show up at the time you said you're going to show up, on the day that you say you're going to show up every week, and they need to get to know you. If this is something that you've not done before, they're not going to be expecting it. So I think one of the biggest things you've got to remember is just because you know you're going to do something and you're planning to do something, your audience don't know that. They have to be given time to jump on that bandwagon with you, especially if it's something new and something they're not expecting you to do. So give them time. Let them come around to the fact. And also, the more you do it, the better you're going to get. Your first ones, trust me, you'll look back at them and think, oh my God, what was I thinking? I know because I've done it. I still do that sometimes now. Look at things and think, Jesus Christ, why didn't somebody stop me? But it is one of those things. You get better and better and better at it. Now, I don't get nervous. I still find it a wee bit odd talking to a computer screen when I'm doing a Facebook Live.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I can talk and talk, as you've probably gathered from this podcast, but that comes with practice as well. Mm-hmm. So people can throw questions at me. I'm very, very comfortable, but I've spent a long time really perfecting this art. So you wouldn't expect an actor to go on stage and be perfect the first time they perform a play. Right. It's exactly the same with this. You can't expect to be perfect the first time. You will cringe when you watch them back for the first time, second time, 5th time, 10th time. But you'll get better and you'll get to know your audience more and you'll get to know what it is they respond to. And then when they start to engage with you on live video, then you take a whole other turn with it, because you can have a lot more fun when you know you're actually speaking to a live audience and they're engaging back with you. But all that takes time. When I first started my private Facebook group, which is for wedding pros rather than newbies, it took me probably 6 months of doing Q&As before people really hooked into it and went, yep, she does this every Wednesday, and they really started posting questions for me to answer. Now it's really, really consistent. But it wasn't for the first few months. I felt like I was talking to this empty void. But I kept going because I knew consistency was the key.
And so that, I'm glad you said that. That brings me to my next question. When you got started, obviously not everybody had latched on that you would be live for Wednesday Q&A, that you would be live for, or is it Wednesday Wisdom and then Friday Q&A? But how were you sharing that you would be doing those live videos? Were you how would someone know that you're going to be live every Wednesday and every Friday? What are you doing to share that information that we could try as well?
Okay, another really good question. One thing you need to remember is that on any social media platform, only about 6% of your audience will ever see what you do. So you have to attack them from every angle you possibly can. So when I know, well, I'm always doing a Q&A on a Wednesday. So every Tuesday, my email list will receive an email from me saying, don't forget, it's Q&A Wednesday tomorrow. Do you have any questions for me? Hit reply. Don't forget to join me in the Facebook group, etc., etc. So they always get an email from me. I also promote it within both my Facebook group and on my Facebook page. So I promote it 2 days before, calling for questions to remind them. I create an event on Facebook that I invite most of my group members to. Well, it's a little difficult because you can only invite up to 500 group members to an event, and I've got a lot more than 500. So it's a bit hit and miss as to who you can invite. But just by creating an event, that helps to build awareness. I will then post about it on Instagram. And generally speaking, we have something go out on Pinterest as well. So I'll do an Instagram story. I'll have something on my Instagram feed. So I'm hitting them from all angles saying, hey, don't forget, I'm going to be live. You can ask me anything. There is no such thing as a silly question. And then I'll also share the replay as well. So again, just because I've told people to come and join me live doesn't necessarily mean that they can make the time that I'm doing it. They might be at work, they might be out walking their dog, shopping, drinking coffee, whatever it is they're doing. So don't just think that because somebody's not watched you live, they're not going to watch it. It might just be that they weren't available. So when you're doing any type of video, that's especially when it's live, not only do you need to remind them that it's happening, you need to also give them the replay after it has happened as well. So marketing is about not attacking people. That sounds awful, but kind of, you want to be getting them from all angles, because somebody might see it on Instagram, but they'll have missed it on Facebook. They didn't see it on Pinterest, and they didn't have time to look at their emails that day. Not everybody is like you and I, where, we look at our emails about 100 times a day. Not everybody else is like that. So you kind of have to remember that your audience is really, really busy. So don't assume that because you posted it once on Facebook that everybody is going to know about it. They're not. So don't feel guilty about putting it on all of the platforms that you're on, reminding people it's happening. Often people will thank you. I've had emails from people that say, oh, thanks for the reminder, completely forgot about that this week, or so glad you sent me the replay. I was way too busy to watch it live, but hey, I really enjoyed XYZ. So the more you do this, the more people will respond, but only if you're giving them value.
This is really encouraging, because I know you have been doing this for years now, but you're still touching people from all marketing platforms to constantly remind them. So I feel like that's encouraging for us, because you're saying, I've been doing this for years. People know to show up now, but they still need to be reminded, and they're still like, oh gosh, thank you for reminding me. This kind of reminds me of when if I'm promoting a course or something like that, and I really feel like I am just barraging people. And, for me as the marketer, I feel almost sometimes like, okay, I can't say anything more about it this week because I feel like I've just said it all a ton. And then the course closes, and then I get 10 emails of people who are like, did I miss it? So you're so right.
Exactly.
People that's
exactly right.
You're exactly right. You have got to hit them from all angles, because they just don't know what they don't know, and they're busy just like we are.
They are. And also, don't forget, you're getting new people into your audience every day. They don't know. They're not, they've not been following you for 3 or 4 years. They're new to you. So they need to get used to what it is that you do, the value that you give. They need to be drawn into your, as part of your audience, and drawn into your world. So you've got to remember, and it's the same with anything that you do. Like, for example, with any of the videos that I do, we also create watch parties for them. It's another way to get it out there. So I don't just share it on video. I'll create a watch party saying, hey, did you miss my live Q&A? Let's watch it together now. There's so many different things that you can do, but as I say, never forget about the fact that there's always new people coming into the fold. And that's why, even with things like blog posts, just because you wrote them once and promoted them once on social media they're not dead and buried and forgotten. You have to keep reminding people that they're there, because you're always getting new eyeballs on what you do. And those eyeballs need nurturing. They need to really understand who you are. They want to devour all your good content. So make it easy for them. That's the other thing about this, which I would probably say is just as important as anything else. Fundamentally now, we are lazy. We want everything done for us. And it's not even that we're lazy, it's because we're so damn busy. We don't want to have to go and look for something. If it takes effort, I'm not going to do it. Give me a link in my inbox with a really enticing call to action. I'm going to click on it and I'm going to watch it. Make me search for it. I won't bother. So that's the other part about this. It's about nurturing your audience, looking after them, and making everything easy. Nothing should be difficult. Whether it is being able to find out how to contact you, to book an appointment with you, to being able to see your, latest live video. You've got to make it easy for them. So by sending them a reminder or a replay by email, doing a watch party for them, tagging them even. So, that's something else that I do with my live Q&A. If the people that have asked me questions, there's no guarantee that they're going to make the live Q&A. So when I've done it, I tag them in the live Q&A after I've done it and say, answered your question live. Tag, 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 tag. So there's power there, and quite often people will share it. So there's lots and lots of different ways to get eyeballs on your live or pre-recorded videos, but you've got to be the driving force behind it. You can't expect people to do the hard work. You've got to do it for them. Make it easy. That's probably the biggest takeaway from this. Don't make them fight hard to find your content. Put it in front of them. Make it really easy. Make them want to click that link to watch your video. Creative calls to actions. Use the language that is going to resonate with them, and really research your audience and talk about things that they're going to be able to connect with easily.
Okay, make it easy. Make it easy. Make it easy. We have touched on so many things in this episode. I am so happy with how much information that we've gotten about video. If there was just one action item, if someone is listening and they are on board, they are saying, Kylie, I want to go start video. What was the one thing they should go do? They should hit stop on this podcast. What action should they take?
Write down 10 things or 10 topics that you could talk about with your ideal client on live video. Because generally speaking, the reason people don't do this is because they sit down and think, I don't know what to talk about. You do know what to talk about. You know who your ideal client is. You know what their pain points are. You know all the questions you get all the time. And half the problem is coming up with the ideas. So once this podcast is over, go write down a minimum of 10 topics that you could talk about, and don't make them generic. Talking about things like how to plan a wedding, that's generic. What would you do if wet weather struck on your wedding day? There's a topic, it's specific. So find yourself a minimum of 10 topics, write them down, and then put a plan together as to when you're going to release them.
I love it. Okay. Kylie, where can everyone find you online?
That's a really good question. weddingacademyglobal.com is our website, and everything that we do is on there. So it gives you links to our Facebook group, it gives you links to our courses and all of our social media, etc. So weddingacademyglobal.com.
weddingacademyglobal.com. And I'm also going to put the link in the show notes as well for her Instagram, because I don't know about you guys, but I 1000% want to see her walking in the French countryside with her dog. So I will be there. Kylie, thank you so much for this incredible interview. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate your expertise. And I know we have a lot of inspired people on this show for starting video in their wedding business. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
It was my pleasure. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening to She Creates Business. Please take a minute and head to iTunes to leave an honest review so we can help more wedding pros find the show.